Ah, yes, the anti-modders, the foot soldiers of totalitarianism. I'm aware the title of this video might seem a tad, hyperbolic, rather radical, but I'm not one to make statements that I can't back up. Besides, look at the absolute dumpster fire that is the entertainment sector right now. There's a saying the longer you leave a problem, the more expensive it is to fix. More in terms of politics, the longer you avoid addressing a problem, the more viable will appear the, something solution. But V shared this on the Twitter, which is helpful because I always see him talk about the crazies on the left with the gaming side. Rarely would I see an example as to how and why, except for the one mod that somehow made its way into an article format. That was bizarre, but anyway. He writes, look at these unhinged reactions over what people are doing on their laptop in the privacy of their own bedroom. A mod is something that's enjoyed in single player, a thing that only you are exposed to. Yet these people freak out because someone somewhere is enjoying something different. I wonder if V knows he's playing off an H.L. Mencken quote about Puritanism, the haunting fear that someone somewhere may be happy. Very similar vibes. And good God, does that describe the actions of the left to a freaking T nowadays, doesn't it? And of course, the whiny pleb goes on about how it isn't just a harmless mod simply restoring sanity, my words obviously, that aims to purge the foreign elements that plague the game. Naturally not the brightest creature in the world, this one, saying, imagine my surprise when I saw that they had no mods that removed any of the magical aspects and creatures in the game in order to make it match medieval status quo. When at the start they mention the mod ensures that the gender and sexuality and of world NPCs match medieval status quo, whereas the fictitious wooden splint of a mod you're hoping to spike your rear end with so you have something else to whine about would remove core elements of a fantasy game. It's not even remotely comparable, for heaven's sakes. And of course they whine about malicious intent because someone who was helping to create a Call 2 game in the game in a list of things they wanted removed from the game, and the mod author just replied by thanking them for their help. My good God, what a terrible man the author must be, showing courtesy, what horror. And more whining about trying to create their own white Nazis, even though this is a fantasy game set in the past and has nothing to do with your stupid World War II antagonist obsession. Dear God, you people are boring. Leave it to leftists to turn the Third Reich into a sleeping aid. I do like that they got banned within seconds after whining about this. Mint that one is. Let me explain this to you nitwits. This backlash is because of you. You demented psychopaths have turned everything that isn't European and beautiful into a tainted Trojan horse that carries the message. Thank you, Drinker. You have turned everything that doesn't look like us into political pawns, and we despise politics. It's not that we have an issue with these things in and of themselves, it's that their existence represents something far more nefarious. You. And so as a consequence, with the mighty power of pattern recognition, we now associate anything that isn't our own kin as a threat. And here is why I call them the foot soldiers, because they've been indoctrinated to be the foot soldiers of a totalitarian regime. You must understand the reality of the world. There is no such thing as freedom, and there is no such thing as free space. These things will push their ideology into every undefended inch, and they will not rest until the message is in every aspect of your life. If they could fill your dreams with it, they would. As I've said before, every space is a table with a loaded gun. Either you take the gun and defend the space with restlessness, or they will take it with nefarious intentions. This is the reality. The right has this unbelievably irritating mentality of trying to play diplomacy with everything because they want to be principled. Let me explain something to you. You can't live in the Shire and think you're going to peacefully negotiate with the Urukai next door. If your principles cause you to lose, your principles suck. Drop them immediately. Fighting with principles in this environment is like having a gun with no ammo. It's empty and useless. The right doesn't understand the left. They really don't. They think the left is just like them. They aren't. They are a totally different beast. They have no principles, they have no morals, no ethics, nothing. They are driven by one thing and one thing only, an unquenchable thirst for power. They desire nothing else but the tools to do damage. They have zero capacity to think, to be understanding, to feel hypocrisy or shame. They are not like you. Look at this modding thing, for example. They have no problem with perverting even your past through corporate backing, but you, a customer, can't even alter your own private property without them screaming fascismus, which features a timeline dating back centuries before the fantasy enemy of their regime even existed. That is a totalitarian's mindset, no question. I've used her as an example before, Emma Wagner from the Majority Report. If you were to place her in the Third Reich, she would be a staunch supporter of the regime and dream of being in the SS. Look at her conduct. Pro-feminist one day, then as soon as the rainbow hippies become the in thing, they support that, without question, even to the detriment of the previous iteration of the current thing, which was focused on women's rights, and the new current thing violates the previous current thing, even though it was also a progressive cause. If you were to look at this phenomenon from the right, using only logic and reasoning to analyze what they supposedly stand for, you would go, what the hell, this makes absolutely no freaking sense whatsoever. However, if you were neutral and looked at their intentions, not their rhetoric, it makes perfect sense because they only care about power. They understand your weakness, your principles, and you're stupid enough to keep playing by your principles. It can't be bargained with, it can't be reasoned with, it doesn't feel pity or remorse. And yes, I did just quote the Terminator. Ah, yes, but not all of it, because the left absolutely can feel fear. They aren't very difficult to understand. What drives them? Equality. Opposite of that, inequality, which manifests how? Superiority. Leftists hate superiority. Why do you think they hate Europe so much? Imperial conquest. Again, not difficult to understand. The reason why they're leftists is because they can't create superiority. They can only pervert, which is why everything they create sucks. Their so-called creations in your eyes create melancholy and depression, despair, because it sucks. Our creations instill a feeling of intimidation and dread, just on the virtue of it being objectively better. And the reason why they are like this is pure envy. You are the successful betters that they could never ever hope to match, and so your very existence drives them insane. What the right needs to do, and I'm guilty of this as well, mind you, is to refocus all of their attention away from just the criticism, because what you're doing is exactly what they're doing, bitching. Yeah, it serves a purpose, but that's only the yin. It needs the yang. In this case, creation. Unity to create something always does far better than unity to destroy something. What the right needs to do is simply create something superior. Adopt the most arrogant of aristocratic elitist mindsets and ignore the whimpering cries of the peasantry, for they are beneath you. There's a quote by Curtis Yarvin I really like. Create greatness as if your enemies don't even exist. So create the greatness and defend it with militaristic levels of unquestioning loyalty, and show that apologetics is not even a word that exists in your lexicon. Do not engage the outrage. Do not engage the complaints or the whining. Rather, keep expanding on it. You don't even need to be that aggressive or threatening about it. Trust me, the superiority of your production will suffice as a method to keep driving them completely insane. Cheers for watching, and once again, I apologize for nothing.